Look at the networks right now. They're talking about him. Look at it. This is the latest. Look at him. Here he goes again. Well, you know what here he goes again means? He's doing what he said he was going to do. He promised you he was going to do these things, and he walked into office week one, and that's exactly what he's doing. And he's saying, y'all do something about it. And when you try to do something about it, he's going to say, look at them now. Now they're concerned about these issues. Were they talking about that during the campaign? Hell no. That's really...
The biggest danger to Democrats isn't Trump. It's their refusal to listen. Maher and Smith are yelling at their own party. Wake up. Speak to real people. Stop talking down to voters. Trump didn't change America. America changed. He just said what everyone was already thinking. If Democrats ignore that again, they'll lose again.
Here's how bad the Democrats up. Trump is cool now. He's not just the most powerful guy in the world and just made himself like the richest. He's actually kind of at 78.
Yes.
I mean, rappers like him.
Obama deported more people than Trump. But when Democrats do it, it's called policy. When Trump does it, it's cruel. That's not principle. That's PR spin. Trump fighting media lawsuits isn't dictatorship. It's accountability. Checks and balances still exist.
Here's the deal. The man was impeached twice. He was convicted on 34 felony counts. And the American people still said, he's closer to normal than what we see left. That's what they're saying. He's closer to normal. Why? Because something that pertains, when you talk about the transgender community, for example, when you're talking about the issues that pertain to less than 1% of the population, the Democratic Party came across as if that was a priority more so than the other issues. And so he comes into office. Now you're talking about childbirth, citizenship, and what have you. He knows that's not going to pass the mustard, but he knows that he made that promise. So when he shows up week one on Capitol Hill and he says, this is what we're going to do through an executive order, even though it's going to be shot down through the courts and what have you, he's saying, I kept my promise. A lot of other things that he's going to point to that he's going to try to do, I kept my promise.
Democrats played the Trump is a monster card too many times. People don't buy it anymore. Kamala Harris was handed the nomination. No real campaign, no real connection. You can't sell excitement for someone people barely know. Maher's furious. Issues like democracy and climate now have no true champion.
Then you turn around and you look at the left and you say, what promises did you keep? Now, you might know the answer to that. I'm certainly not questioning your knowledge about that at all. What I'm saying is what resonated with the voter. What voter out there can look at the Democratic Party at this moment in time and say, there's a voice for us, somebody that speaks for us, that goes up on Capitol Hill and fights the fights that we want them fighting on our behalf. They didn't do that. And that's why their behinds are home and that man is back into the White House.
Biden's border policy? Disaster. White heavy checkmark 2+ million illegal crossings. White heavy checkmark cities overwhelmed. White heavy checkmark crime rising. White heavy checkmark taxpayers paying the price. Regular Americans are begging. Who's protecting us? Trump offers order. A return to control in chaotic times. That message is winning again.
Look at the networks right now. They're talking about him. Look at it. This is the latest. Look at him. Here he goes again. Well, you know what here he goes again means? He's doing what he said he was going to do. He promised you he was going to do these things, and he walked into office week one, and that's exactly what he's doing. And he's saying, y'all do something about it. And when you try to do something about it, he's going to say, look at them now. Now they're concerned about these issues. Were they talking about that during the campaign? Hell no. That's really
unity and stability. Instead, Americans got chart decreasing, a sinking economy. Money with wings savings wiped out. Stop sign a border meltdown. Pistol higher crime. And leadership insisted. Everything is fine. Trump returned saying, I told you so. And it hits different now. Stephen A. even clarified. He never called Trump racist, because he knew him before politics. That's huge.
I'm pissed at the Democrats because my issues, democracy, the environment, have no protectors now. Because you blew the election, I have nobody standing up for the two issues that are my issues.
Which is?
Democracy and the environment. It's my two most important issues. Those are not priorities in the new administration.
Bill Maher keeps scolding his own side. Stop lecturing voters. Start listening. While Democrats argue pronouns on live TV, Trump talks gas prices, jobs, the border. Maher and Smith aren't anti-Democrat. their anti-delusion.
I know these things.
Yeah.
I pump my own gas unless my guy is with me, my security. I pump my own gas. I see the prices of this stuff. I'm like, what the hell is this? And so I look at things from that standpoint. And when you hear people talking about practical things, and then I saw folks on the left basically trying to guilt me into voting for you. It bothered me. I might have ended up voting for Kamala Harris because I didn't like how Trump acts. But what I didn't do was call him a racist. I didn't call him a Nazi. I knew Trump before he ran for president.
Yeah.
We talked on the phone. We talk at basketball games or boxing events. I knew this man. And so some of the things that were being said about him, I knew were not true. And I was saying, come on, y'all, that you got to do better than that.
Democrats once dominated the working class. Now, they're obsessed with Twitter trends. And that's how Trump walked back in. He didn't need perfection. He only needed to show he cared about what people actually care about. Dollar banknote money. House with garden safety. Locked security. Simple. Clear. Effective.
So I have no champion in Washington. They have the courts, they have the House and the Senate, and you totally left me unguarded.
What are Democrats offering regular people? Who's speaking for? White heavy checkmark the single mom drowning in rent? White heavy checkmark the guy working 2 jobs with prices doubling? Stephen A. Smith says voters don't feel represented. Leaders are chasing niche online applause while the majority asks, hey, what about us?
Did you discuss the economy enough? No. You could have discussed the border because unlike Obama, who was quote unquote the deported in chiefs, according to the Republicans, because he deported more immigrants than Trump did.
According to not just Republicans, but Democrats. There were Democrats who called
He
on that.
deported more immigrants than Trump, which means he just didn't talk about it, but he did it.
For years, networks painted Trump as a threat to democracy. But every attempt to destroy him only made him stronger. Every lawsuit, every scandal, every monologue turned him into the underdog, the guy fighting a system people are fed up with. He doesn't talk like a politician. He talks like the guy next to you at the bar, loud, rough, real. And millions respect that more than polished speeches.
Biden walks into office and day one you sign an executive order that opens the border, and you let more than 12 million immigrants cross the border illegally, and you don't think that's going to be a problem?
Trump's biggest power move? Delivering. He says he'll do something, and boom, he does it. Even when people say it'll blow up in his face. Even when every headline calls him dangerous. That unapologetic follow-through keeps him relevant. It's why his enemies stay obsessed. Maher and Smith argue the Democrats have pushed everyday Americans so far away that Trump of all people now looks like the normal one. Love him or hate him, Donald Trump does something most politicians only talk about. He actually follows through. The media can't stop covering him. Critics can't stop attacking him. And yet, every time they say here he goes again, America sees a leader doing exactly what he promised. That's why even his opponents can't look away. And according to Bill Maher and Stephen A. Smith, 2 lifelong Democrats, that says a lot about the state of their own party.